Imagine starting with absolutely nothing. I mean, zero money, no promising future, completely hopeless. Well, today we're diving into the incredible story of a guy who literally rewrote his entire destiny using just one single daily habit. Welcome to The Explainer. We're going to unpack exactly how he completely turned his life upside down in just 90 days just by carving out 2 hours a morning. Honestly, this system, it might just be the exact game changer you've been looking for.
Okay, so let's get into it. Our story starts with Thomas. Picture this. He's a 32-year-old night security guard working at this massive warehouse. He's living in a tiny, cramped one-room apartment, sleeping on a mattress on the floor with a broken fan. His salary? Barely enough to keep the lights on. But you know what the worst part was? It wasn't actually the poverty. It was that suffocating feeling of being totally trapped. Every single morning, as he's walking home completely exhausted, he'd pass by families eating breakfast, people heading off to their shiny office jobs, and he'd ask himself this really haunting question: is this going to be my life forever?
And, well, it's pretty easy to see why he felt so stuck. Every night at 8 p.m., Thomas punches in. Every morning at 6 a.m., he drags himself home to sleep right through until 4 p.m. And the thing is, he wasn't lazy, not at all. He walked 4 miles a day, stayed alert all night long, but all that hard work, it was just leading nowhere. He was awake when the entire world was sleeping and asleep when the world was working. He essentially felt like he was living his life in reverse, completely cut off from any chance to learn new skills or, find a better path.
But then, everything shifted. One really cold morning, Thomas gets a phone call. His mother, who lived out in the countryside, had collapsed, just from sheer exhaustion and stress. So he rushes to her hospital bed, and she grabs his hand, looking at him with this desperate plea and says, "Do not waste your life like I wasted mine." Man, that hits hard, right? Walking out of that clinic right into the quiet 5 a.m. dawn, something inside Thomas just snapped. But not out of sadness. It was this fierce, undeniable determination. Standing there in the dark, he just whispered to himself, "No more. I'm gonna find a way."
And it's crazy how life works, because that very morning on the bus ride back to town, a totally serendipitous encounter happens. It's 6 a.m. On one side of the bus, you've got Thomas, an exhausted, burnt-out night guard. On the other side, a guy named Mr. Chun, who happens to be a highly successful local businessman. But Mr. Chun doesn't look exhausted at all. He's sharply dressed, reading a book, and just looking incredibly peaceful. Thomas is obviously shocked to see a wealthy guy riding a public bus at the crack of dawn, so he just flat out asks him why he's there. And Mr. Chun's answer? It completely flips Thomas's world upside down.
So, Mr. Chun shares this philosophy with him, and it's called the magic hours. He tells Thomas that this undisturbed pocket of time, between 5 a.m. and 7 a.m., that's when you actually build the foundation of your life. Think about it. While everyone else is still dreaming or mashing the snooze button or getting sucked into their phones, this perfectly quiet window is your rare, golden opportunity to build the future you actually want. Now, what's really fascinating here is the math. Mr. Chun breaks it down like this. If you carve out just 2 hours a morning, that equals 14 hours a week, which means 60 hours a month. And over a full year, that is 730 hours. Just let that number sink in for a second. 730 hours. That is a massive chunk of time completely dedicated to upgrading yourself, totally hidden away from the demands of the rest of the world.
To really put those 730 hours into perspective, that effectively translates to 91 full workdays. Literally, by just waking up at 5 a.m. for 1 year, you are giving yourself 3 extra working months compared to everyone else who's just sleeping through it. It's basically the ultimate compounding interest, but for your time. You are effectively handing yourself a 3-month head start on your goals every single year. How crazy is that? Right, so how exactly are you supposed to use those 3 extra months? You can't just sit there. Mr. Chung gave Thomas a very specific optimized system. The first 50%, so hour 1 from 5 a.m. to 6 a.m., is strictly for building skills. You learn something that's going to change your financial trajectory. No TV and absolutely no doom scrolling. For Thomas, this meant diving into free YouTube tutorials. Then, the next 50%, hour 2 from 6 a.m. to 7 a.m., gets split. 25% goes to 30 minutes of exercise because, hey, your body is your vehicle, and the final 25% is for reading, planning out your day, and figuring out how to apply what you just learned.
But listen, to actually pull this off, you need some ironclad discipline. Mr. Chun laid out 3 non-negotiable rules. Rule 1, no negotiating with yourself. You wake up at 5 a.m. daily, yes, even on weekends. 0 excuses. Rule 2, you're in bed and asleep by 9 p.m. Seriously, you cannot cheat sleep, it just doesn't work. So a 9 p.m. bedtime is absolutely mandatory. And Rule 3, survive the first week. Because let's be real here, your body is going to absolutely hate you at first. Your brain will invent a dozen reasons to hit that snooze button. You just have to push through that initial pain until it becomes an automatic habit.
So Thomas actually accepts the challenge. And day one? Oh, it was pure misery. He practically dragged himself out of bed, eyes burning, just to sit and watch Excel tutorials. But the thing is, he didn't stop. By day 20, his body started adapting. He was actually waking up a couple of minutes before his alarm, feeling sharp instead of just angry at the world. By month 2, he'd completely finished 3 online courses in accounting and Excel. Plus, he'd even lost weight from his morning walks. He then started using these brand new skills to organize his warehouse's messy inventory system. And then came the ultimate payoff, day 87. The company realized they desperately needed an accountant who understood the warehouse operations from the inside out. And they offered Thomas the job.
This transformation after just 90 days, it honestly speaks volumes. I mean, Thomas went from being a completely exhausted night security guard to a day shift accountant. His income jumped from barely scraping by to a doubled salary. But arguably the most important shift, his entire outlook changed. He went from feeling totally trapped and hopeless to feeling incredibly confident and capable. And it was all because he took control of the morning while the rest of the world was fast asleep.
Fast forward a year later, and Thomas is now the company's lead accountant. He was able to move his mom into a nice apartment and finally get her the medical care she needed. But here is the absolute most crucial takeaway from his entire journey. He kept waking up at 5 a.m. When his coworkers asked him, "Hey, why are you still getting up so early? You've already made it." He just smiled and said, "Success is not a destination. It's a daily practice." And that's the secret, right there. The 5 a.m. rule isn't some quick, temporary fix. It is a lifelong foundation.
So, you're probably wondering, why does this work so flawlessly? And more importantly, how can it work for you? Well, it all comes down to the 5 a.m. advantage. Psychologically speaking, this is when your willpower is at its absolute peak, right before ego depletion kicks in from making 100 tiny decisions throughout the day. Between 5 a.m. and 7 a.m., the world is just quiet. No emails pinging, no emergency meetings, no fires to put out. Your mind is completely fresh. This is exactly why top CEOs, elite athletes, and great leaders fiercely protect this time. They know for a fact that if you win the morning, you win the day.
All right, so here is Mr. Chun's challenge, and I'm passing it directly to you. Step 1, set your alarm tonight for exactly 5 a.m. Not 5:15, not 5:30, and do yourself a massive favor, put it all the way across the room so you physically have to stand up to turn the stupid thing off. Step 2, choose one thing to build during that first hour for the next 90 days. Maybe it's a new skill, a side business, an online course. Just pick one. And step 3, protect your 9 p.m. bedtime like your life depends on it. Cut out the late-night Netflix, stop the endless doom scrolling in bed. A wasted evening is literally the enemy of a productive morning.
Look, Thomas started with no degree, 0 connections, and no money. You, watching this right now, likely have the internet, endless education, and massive opportunity right at your fingertips. Honestly, the only difference between where you are right now and where you want to be is how you choose to use the time when everyone else is sleeping. Your future self is waiting for you on the other side of that alarm clock. The question is, will you be awake? If you're ready to commit to this, drop your 90-day goal down in the comments below. It's time to stop hitting snooze on your life, and let's get to building. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and I'll catch you in the next one.